The desert night was cold, and the stars stretched endlessly above Kale Draven. The air smelled of sand and ozone, a faint electric charge lingering from the goddess's powers. Kale stood a few feet from her, his eyes fixed on the golden fragment still embedded in her skin. She was still wary, but the tension between them had softened. "We should move," she said finally, her voice low and measured. "The ruins lie deeper beneath the dunes. There are traps and dangers that even I cannot face alone." Kale nodded. "Lead the way," he said, adjusting his pack. Though exhausted from the day, he felt an energy within him, a fire that came from curiosity and the promise of something greater. Humanity had faced impossible odds before, and somehow, he knew they could face this too. They moved carefully, the goddess gliding over the sand while Kale followed, keeping pace. The desert around them seemed alive, whispering warnings and flickering with strange lights. Occasionally, small creatures scuttled across the dunes, mechanical and alive, disappearing before Kale could react. The goddess kept her eyes sharp, sending waves of energy to push them away when necessary. After hours of careful travel, they reached a massive dune that hid the entrance to the ruins. The sand shifted like liquid, revealing stone stairs that descended deep into the desert. Kale felt a thrill of excitement. This was the heart of the ancient civilization he had been searching for, and the goddess's warning made it all the more real. "Stay close," she said, her eyes glowing. "These corridors are alive. They protect what lies within." Kyle nodded, moving slowly as they descended. The walls were etched with symbols similar to those on her armor, glowing faintly as they passed. The air was cooler here, damp with the faint scent of minerals and machinery. Strange hums echoed from deep within the stone corridors, vibrating through Kyle's bones. Suddenly, a section of the floor shifted, revealing a pit lined with spikes and jagged metal. Kale jumped back, heart pounding. The goddess raised her hand and the spikes froze mid-air, suspended by a force he could not see. "This place tests all who enter," she said. "The ancient guardians are not gone. They wait, observing, striking only when provoked." Kyle studied the pit, impressed. Humans might not have had powers like hers, but they had something else. Imagination, courage, and a mind capable of finding solutions in impossible situations. He carefully marked the path and followed her across the safe stones. Hours passed as they navigated traps and puzzles. Kale used his knowledge, intuition, and quick thinking to disarm mechanisms that would have killed most humans. Each time the goddess watched silently, her expression unreadable as if measuring his worth. At last they entered a massive chamber, filled with golden light and ancient machinery. At the center lay a large crystal pulsing with energy. Kale could feel its power radiating outward, filling the chamber with warmth and light. He approached cautiously, but the goddess held up her hand. "Do not touch it," she warned. "It contains knowledge and power beyond your kind. Even a single misstep could destroy everything." Kyle stepped back, nodding. He studied the crystal, fascinated. It seemed alive, reacting to his presence. The symbols on the walls shifted and moved, revealing patterns that told a story of a civilization that had harnessed energy from stars, of gods who had protected knowledge from those who would misuse it, and of the goddess herself, a sentinel waiting for one capable of understanding. "You are human," she said softly, almost to herself. "Yet you endure what others would flee from. You adapt. You survive, perhaps. You are the key." Kyle met her gaze. "If we can work together, maybe we can protect this. Maybe we can learn from it. Maybe humanity can help preserve what your people built." She studied him long and hard. Then slowly she nodded. "Perhaps you are right. But to reach what is needed, you must pass a trial. Only those who prove their courage, intelligence, and heart can unlock this power." Kale swallowed hard, but he felt a spark of determination. Humans had faced far worse odds. They had survived famine, war, and the cold void of space. If there was a trial, he would face it. He would prove that humans were not weak. The trial began almost immediately. The chamber shifted, walls rotating, floors rearranging. The crystal's light focused into beams that created illusions, visions of fear, doubt, and danger. Kale saw himself trapped, the goddess destroyed, and the desert collapsing around him. Panic rose in his chest, but he steadied himself. "Focus on reality," the goddess said, her voice cutting through the illusions. "Do not let fear control you. Use your mind. Use your heart." Kyle did. He remembered everything that had brought him here. The deserts he had crossed, the storms he had survived, the legends he had followed. He moved carefully, using his instincts and intellect to navigate the illusions. Each step was measured, each choice deliberate. Hours seemed to pass in moments. The illusions tested him relentlessly, showing him worst-case scenarios and impossible dangers. Yet Cale endured. He solved the puzzles, avoided the traps, and never lost faith in his abilities, or in the goddess beside him. Finally, the illusions faded. The crystal pulsed brighter and steadier than before. The goddess stepped forward, placing a hand on it. A wave of energy filled the chamber, warm and powerful, yet not threatening. She turned to Cale, her glowing eyes softening. "You have passed," she said. "You are human, yet you possess the qualities of a guardian. You are strong, adaptable, and brave. You have heart, and that sets you apart." Cale exhaled, relief and pride swelling in him. He had survived the trial, not just for himself, but for humanity. The goddess stepped closer, fully free from the sand and golden fragments now shining brilliantly on her form. "Your people have potential," she said. "I have underestimated them. Perhaps together we can face the darkness that approaches. Perhaps humans can rise to a role no other species could fulfill." Cale smiled. "Then we'll do it together. Humanity and you side by side," the goddess nodded. The crystal pulsed once more, sending light throughout the ruins, awakening mechanisms that had slept for millennia. Outside, the desert wind shifted, calmer now, as if acknowledging a new order. Cale looked up at the stars, thinking of the worlds beyond, of the people who would never know what lay beneath this desert. But he felt hope. Humans could rise, adapt, and survive. They could face gods and guardians and leave their mark on the galaxy. And as the goddess led him through the ruins, revealing secrets and power, Cale knew this was only the beginning. Humanity's true strength was not in weapons or numbers, but in courage, creativity, and the will to face the impossible. The desert no longer seemed empty or hostile. It was alive, full of challenges, mysteries, and opportunities. And Cale Draven, human explorer, had become a part of something far greater than himself, a partnership that could change the fate of worlds. The night stretched on, but Cale did not feel fear. He felt determination. He had found a goddess, survived her warnings, and passed the trial. And in doing so, he had proven that humans, small and fragile as they seemed, were capable of greatness beyond imagining. For in a galaxy of ancient powers and silent guardians, humanity had found its place, and the desert waited, patient and eternal, ready for the next challenge. The desert stretched endlessly, a sea of golden sand under a scorching sun. The wind carved the dunes into shifting shapes, hiding secrets older than any human memory. Cale Draven wiped the sweat from his brow, squinting against the heat and glare. He had crossed countless deserts before, but this planet was different. The storms came without warning, and the sand seemed alive, whispering in a language only the winds understood. Cale had come in search of the old legends, the stories of a goddess buried somewhere in the desert, left behind by a civilization long gone. Most dismissed them as myths, tales told to frighten children or amuse travelers, but Cale had never been one to ignore legends. He believed that truth often hid beneath the veil of stories, and he had a knack for finding it. His boots sank into the sand as he trudged forward, scanning the horizon. The sun beat down relentlessly, but something caught his eye, a glint of gold half buried in a dune. Cale paused, heart beating faster. He adjusted his goggles and leaned closer. There she was. At first he thought it was a statue, but as he approached he realized it was alive. The figure was enormous, half buried in the sand. Her long hair spread around her like a halo of shadow. Golden fragments clung to her skin, part armor, part jewelry etched with strange symbols that shimmered faintly. Her eyes opened suddenly and Cale froze. They glowed with a light he could not describe, ancient, knowing, and dangerous. "Don't come closer," she hissed, her voice like wind scraping over rocks. "Your scent means death." Cale stumbled back, hands raised in warning. His mind raced. He had expected to find something remarkable, but not this. A living goddess trapped in the desert warning him away. Every instinct screamed at him to run, yet something held him. Curiosity, awe, and the burning need to understand pushed him forward slowly, carefully. He stopped several feet away, keeping his distance. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said softly. His voice sounded tiny in the vast emptiness. "I want to help." The goddess's eyes narrowed. A low hiss escaped her lips, and a ripple of heat passed over the sand around her. Kale could feel it even from here, a warning not just in words but in the air itself. Her body trembled as if the desert itself obeyed her will. Kyle studied her carefully. She was massive, taller than any human, with limbs like carved stone yet smooth and strong. The golden fragments of her armor seemed fused to her skin, ancient technology blending with biology. He crouched slightly, careful not to make sudden movements. "This is incredible," he whispered to himself. "She's real. She exists." He noticed the sand around her shifted strangely, as if it were alive, almost protective. Every step closer required effort, every movement measured. Kale thought about turning back, but the thought of leaving her here, buried and alone, was unbearable. He reached into his pack and pulled out a small scanner, pointing it toward her. The reading spiked with energy, ancient power unlike anything he had ever seen. She hissed again, a sharper warning this time. "Do not touch me, human. One step closer and you will die." Kale froze, then nodded slowly. "I understand. I won't touch you, but I need to know. Who are you?" Her eyes studied him for long moments. The wind stirred and the dunes around them shifted. Then slowly she spoke. "I am a guardian. I was left here to protect something older than your world, older than your people. You do not belong here, yet you linger." "Why?" Kale swallowed. "Because I want to understand. I want to know what your people left behind, and I want to help if I can." She made a low, almost amused sound like the whisper of a storm. "Humans, always curious, always reckless. You believe helping will save you, but your kind is fragile. Your flesh, your mind, so easily broken." Kyle felt a shiver run down his spine. Yet beneath the fear there was resolve. "Maybe," he said quietly, "but we survive. We adapt. That's what makes us strong." The goddess's gaze lingered on him, unblinking. Kale realized she was testing him, judging him. He held her stare, steady and unwavering, hoping to prove that humans were not weak. Suddenly, the sand around her shifted violently. From beneath the dunes, small creatures erupted, twisted, metallic, and alive, with glinting eyes and sharp claws. Kale leaped back, narrowly avoiding their attack. They hissed, a mechanical screeching sound, and advanced toward him. The goddess raised a hand, and a wave of energy rippled outward, forcing the creatures back into the sand. The ground shook and the wind howled as if the desert itself were alive. Kale stumbled, awestruck by the display. "You see?" she said, her voice calm but deadly. "Everything here obeys me. Everything dies if I command it. Yet you still stand." "Why?" Kyle caught his breath. "Because I have to. Because humans, we face impossible odds and we keep going. That's what we do." She studied him a long moment longer, then finally relaxed slightly. "Perhaps you are different. Perhaps your kind is worth something after all." Kale took a cautious step closer, careful not to provoke her. He scanned the area again, noting strange symbols etched into the sand and partially buried walls nearby. "There's something here, isn't there?" he asked. "Something worth protecting?" Her eyes softened for just a fraction of a second. "Yes, something ancient. Something that must not fall into the wrong hands. But the desert, it is dangerous. Even your kind cannot survive without risking everything." Kyle nodded. "Then let me help. I can be careful. I know the risks and I know what it means to face danger." For a moment there was silence. The wind seemed to pause and the sun dipped slightly behind a cloud, casting a long shadow across the sand. Then she spoke, almost a whisper. "Very well. But one mistake, one misstep, and death will be yours. Remember that, human." Kale swallowed and nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He knew she was not bluffing. Everything about her radiated power, ancient, terrifying, and beautiful. Yet he also felt a spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, humanity could rise to meet the impossible. He knelt beside her, careful to stay within the boundaries she had set. Using tools from his pack, he began carefully brushing the sand away from her body, revealing more of her golden armor and the intricate designs etched into her skin. Each symbol seemed to pulse with life, humming faintly under his touch. Hours passed. The sun began to dip low, casting long shadows across the desert. Kale worked tirelessly, moving with precision and care. Occasionally she hissed warnings, but she did not stop him. Slowly he uncovered more of her form, revealing the elegance and strength hidden beneath the sand. As night fell, The desert grew cold. The wind howled louder, and the stars appeared, countless points of light in the vast sky. Kale stepped back, exhausted but exhilarated. The goddess was mostly free now, half sitting, half leaning against the sand. Her eyes glowed softly in the moonlight. "You have done well, human," she said, "but do not mistake your actions for understanding. What lies ahead will test you in ways you cannot yet imagine." Kale smiled faintly, despite the fear gnawing at him. "I am ready. Whatever comes, we face it together, if you let me." She studied him, her glowing eyes searching his soul. Then slowly she nodded. "Perhaps, together, we will survive. Perhaps your kind is not as fragile as I believed." Kale felt a surge of hope. The desert was still dangerous, and the night held many unknown threats. But for the first time, he believed that humanity might not only survive, but thrive, even in the presence of gods. And as the wind swept across the dunes, carrying whispers of the past, Kale Draven knew that his life and the fate of humanity was about to change forever.